The day started like any other in New York City. The streets were alive with the usual morning rush. People hurried along sidewalks, clutching cups of coffee or scrolling through their phones. Cars honked impatiently as traffic lights turned red, and the air carried the faint smell of freshly baked bagels from a nearby shop. It was just another ordinary Tuesday, or so everyone thought. In a small apartment downtown, Alex Carter sat on his worn-out couch, flipping through channels on the TV. His black coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't seem to notice. Outside his window, the city buzzed with energy, but inside, the room felt quiet and still. Alex sighed, leaning back into the cushions. He wasn't in the mood for anything on television, reality shows, news programs, or even sports. But boredom kept him glued to the screen anyway. Then it happened. A loud chime interrupted the monotony, signaling an emergency broadcast. Every channel switched to the same feed, a live transmission from the United Nations headquarters. At first, Alex thought it might be some kind of technical glitch. But, as the image stabilized, he realized this was no accident. On the screen appeared a figure unlike anything he'd ever seen before, a holographic projection of what could only be described as an alien ambassador. The creature floated above the eye stage, its shimmering form glowing softly under the bright lights of the auditorium. Its body seemed translucent, shifting colors like oil on water. Two large, unblinking eyes dominated its face, while tentacle-like appendages swayed gently around its head. The being radiated an aura of calm authority, yet there was something unsettling about its presence. It didn't look angry or aggressive, it simply looked superior. A deep, resonant voice filled the room, echoing as if it came from everywhere at once. "Humans of Earth," the alien began, its words translated flawlessly into every language spoken across the globe. "For 3,000 years we have coexisted peacefully under the terms of our sacred treaty. Yet you have repeatedly violated these agreements. You have trespassed into forbidden zones, exploited resources beyond your share, and ignored repeated warnings. Your actions leave us no choice. We declare war." Alex stared at the screen, his mouth slightly open. For a moment, he thought it was some elaborate prank. Maybe it was part of a movie promotion or a viral marketing campaign. But the longer he listened, the more real it felt. The alien's tone was serious, almost clinical, devoid of emotion. This wasn't a joke. And yet the absurdity of the situation hit him all at once. Aliens declaring war? After 3,000 years of peace? Unable to help himself, Alex burst out laughing. Across town, Samantha Sam Lewis was having a similar reaction. Sam was a journalist known for her sharp wit and relentless pursuit of truth. She worked for a popular online magazine, covering everything from politics to pop culture. When her editor called her into his office that morning, she assumed it would be about another boring assignment. Instead, he handed her a printout of the alien declaration. "This has to be fake, right?" Sam asked, raising an eyebrow. Her editor shrugged, looking equally baffled. "I don't know, Sam. Everyone's talking about it. Social media's blowing up. I need you to dig deeper, find out if this is legit." Sam rolled her eyes. "It's probably just some billionaire's publicity stunt. Or maybe Netflix is releasing a new sci-fi series." Still, she couldn't deny the story had potential. If nothing else, it would make for great clickbait. Grabbing her notebook and camera, she headed out to see how people were reacting. On the streets, chaos reigned, but not the kind you'd expect during a global crisis. Instead of panic, there was laughter. People gathered around screens in cafes and bars, pointing and chuckling at the bizarre announcement. Comedians quickly jumped on the trend, posting videos mocking the alien's dramatic delivery. One clip showed a man wearing a tinfoil hat, shouting, "I told you they were coming." Another featured a group of teenagers pretending to communicate, with the aliens using walkie-talkies. Even Mia Rodriguez, Alex's best friend, found humor in the situation. She texted him a meme of the alien ambassador photoshopped onto a bodybuilder flexing in a gym. "This is ridiculous," she wrote. "Like, are they going to send spaceships shaped like disco balls?" Alex replied with a laughing emoji, though part of him still felt uneasy. He tried to shake off the feeling, telling himself it was just nerves. After all, why would aliens suddenly decide to invade after thousands of years of peace? It made no sense. And yet, the memory of the ambassador's cold, calculating gaze lingered in his mind. Not everyone was laughing, however. Daniel Harper, a retired astrophysicist, watched the broadcast intently from his cluttered living room. His walls were lined with shelves sagging under the weight of dusty books and old telescopes. Papers covered every available surface, scribbled with notes and equations. To most people, Daniel seemed like a relic of a bygone era, a mad scientist stuck in the past. But those who knew him understood the depth of his knowledge. As the alien ambassador spoke, Daniel leaned forward, his brow furrowed in concentration. He recognized the species immediately. Their unique bioluminescence and fluid movements matched descriptions from ancient texts and intercepted signals he'd studied for decades. These weren't imposters or CGI creations. They were real. And they meant business. This isn't a joke, Daniel muttered to himself, rubbing his temples. He grabbed his phone and dialed a number from memory. It rang twice before someone picked up. "Hey, Daniel," came a familiar voice. It was Sam, the journalist. They'd crossed paths a few times over the years, usually when she needed expert commentary on space-related stories. "Sam, listen carefully," Daniel said, his tone urgent. "That alien declaration, it's genuine. I've seen evidence of their existence for years. If they're declaring war, we need to take them seriously." There was a pause on the other end. "You really think this is happening?" Sam asked, skepticism creeping into her voice. "I'm certain of it," Daniel replied. "And if we don't act fast, things are going to get very bad very quickly." Despite his warning, skepticism remained widespread. Governments issued vague statements urging calm, but offered little concrete information. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, with some claiming the entire thing was a hoax orchestrated by tech companies testing new AI technology. Others insisted it was a cover-up for secret military experiments gone wrong. But amidst the laughter and disbelief, subtle signs began to emerge. Power grids faltered in major cities without explanation. Satellites captured strange movements near Earth's orbit. And late at night, eerie lights streaked across the sky, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. Alex noticed these changes too, though he tried to convince himself they were unrelated. Still, he couldn't ignore the growing tension in the air. Conversations with Mia grew quieter, tinged with uncertainty. Even jokes about aliens lost their punchline. Meanwhile, Sam decided to pay Daniel a visit. She arrived at his house armed with questions and a recorder, ready to document whatever insights he might offer. As she stepped inside, she was struck by the sheer amount of clutter. Papers fluttered to the floor as she moved, and the faint hum of an old computer filled the background. Daniel greeted her warmly, ushering her to a table piled high with research materials. "I've been studying these beings for years," he explained, pulling out a folder marked Classified. Inside were grainy images of unidentified flying objects, decoded messages from deep space, and diagrams of alien technology. "They've always been watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike." Sam listened intently, jotting down notes. Despite her initial doubts, Daniel's conviction was hard to dismiss. By the time she left, she found herself questioning everything she thought she knew about the universe. Back in the city, Alex and Mia continued their daily routines, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy. But the shadow of the alien declaration loomed larger with each passing day. Laughter gave way to whispers, and whispers turned to worry. Something big was coming, and no one was quite sure how to prepare. For now, life went on. Traffic flowed, businesses operated, and people carried on as if nothing had changed. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to form. Humanity stood on the brink of something unprecedented, unaware of the storm gathering overhead. As the days passed, the world continued to shrug off the alien declaration. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a mix of mockery and disbelief. Social media was flooded with memes and jokes, turning the aliens' ominous message into entertainment. Late-night comedians milked the situation for laughs, with one host pretending to negotiate peace by offering pizza delivery services to the invaders. Even hashtags like alien war hoax trended worldwide, as millions dismissed the announcement as nothing more than an elaborate prank. But strange occurrences began to surface, small at first, but growing harder to ignore. Power outages struck major cities without warning. Streetlights flickered and died, plunging neighborhoods into darkness. In Chicago, an entire subway line shut down mid-commute, leaving passengers stranded underground for hours. Authorities blamed faulty wiring or cyber attacks, but no clear explanation emerged. People shrugged it off, chalking it up to bad luck or incompetence. Then came the disappearances. Reports trickled in from rural areas near military bases. Farmers claimed their livestock vanished overnight, leaving behind empty pens and scattered hay. A family in Montana reported waking up to find their dog missing, its leash still tied to the porch railing. At first, these incidents seemed isolated, easy to dismiss as coincidence or wild animal attacks. But as the stories multiplied, a pattern began to emerge. Alex Carter noticed the changes too. His apartment building experienced frequent power surges, causing lights to dim and appliances to sputter. One evening, while scrolling through his phone, he stumbled upon a video posted by a local resident. It showed eerie lights hovering above a nearby park, pulsating in sync before vanishing into thin air. The comment section was filled with skepticism. Fake. Photoshop. Nice try, buddy. But something about the footage made Alex pause. He replayed it several times, studying the movements of the lights. They didn't look natural. Maya. Rodriguez teased him about his newfound obsession. Come on, Alex, she said over lunch, rolling her eyes. If aliens wanted to destroy us, wouldn't they have done it already? Why waste time messing with streetlights? Alex hesitated, unsure how to respond. Part of him agreed with Mia. It did seem ridiculous to worry about an alien invasion when life appeared so normal. Yet deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The laughter and jokes felt forced, like people were trying too hard to convince themselves everything was fine. Samantha Sam Lewis, meanwhile, found herself torn between skepticism and curiosity. Her editor had tasked her with covering the story, but the lack of concrete evidence made it difficult to write anything substantial. Most of her interviews ended in dead ends. Experts either dismissed the claims outright or refused to comment altogether. Frustrated, Sam decided to dig deeper, reaching out to Daniel Harper for guidance. Daniel welcomed her back to his cluttered home, where stacks of papers now threatened to topple over. He spread out maps and satellite images across the table, pointing to anomalies he'd detected near Earth's orbit. Look here, he said, tapping a grainy photo showing what appeared to be massive ships lurking just beyond the atmosphere. These aren't natural formations. They're too symmetrical, too precise. Sam squinted at the image, trying to make sense of it. To her untrained eye, it looked like random blotches against a black background. But Daniel's confidence was contagious. Are you saying these are alien ships? She asked cautiously. I'm certain of it, he replied, his voice steady. And if we don't act soon, they'll strike. The conversation left Sam uneasy. She returned to her apartment that night, unable to sleep. Images of glowing lights and shadowy figures haunted her thoughts. For the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility that Daniel might be right. What if the aliens weren't bluffing? What if humanity was in real danger? Across town, Alex and Mia joined a crowd gathering in Times Square to watch. A live panel discussion featuring scientists, politicians, and conspiracy theorists debating the alien threat. The event drew thousands of spectators, many holding signs mocking the supposed invasion. One man dressed as an alien waved enthusiastically at the cameras, shouting, "Take me to your leader." The audience roared with laughter, but not everyone shared the mood. Standing at the edge of the crowd, Alex spotted a young woman clutching her child tightly, her face pale with fear. Nearby, a teenager filmed the scene on his phone, grinning nervously. "Is this really happening?" he muttered to his friend. Alex glanced at Mia, who was busy snapping photos of the chaos. For a moment, he considered voicing his concerns, but the words caught in his throat. How could he explain something he barely understood himself? The next morning, the situation took a darker turn. News outlets reported sightings of mysterious drones hovering over major cities. Witnesses described them as sleek metallic objects moving silently through the air. Some claimed the drones scanned buildings with bright beams of light, while others swore they heard faint humming sounds. Governments remained silent, offering no explanation or reassurance. Panic began to ripple through the population. Supermarkets saw a surge in customers stockpiling food and water. Gas stations ran out of fuel as lines stretched around the block. Rumors spread like wildfire. Aliens were abducting people, poisoning water supplies, and preparing for an attack. Conspiracy theorists gained traction, claiming the government was hiding the truth or collaborating with the invaders. Amid the chaos, grassroots resistance groups started forming. Ordinary citizens armed themselves with whatever they could find: guns, knives, even baseball bats. Neighborhood watch programs turned into impromptu militias, patrolling streets and setting up makeshift barricades. Alex and Mia attended a meeting organized by a former Marine named Chris Bennett, who had taken charge of organizing their community's defense efforts. Chris was tall and broad-shouldered, with a calm demeanor that inspired trust. He spoke plainly, outlining plans for evacuation routes, communication systems, and supply storage. "We don't know what's coming," he admitted, "but we need to be ready. If those ships in the sky are real, we can't rely on anyone else to protect us." Mia raised her hand hesitantly. What if this is all just a big misunderstanding? What if the aliens don't want to hurt us? Chris paused, considering her question. "Maybe you're right," he said finally, "but I've learned the hard way that hope isn't a strategy. We prepare for the worst and pray for the best." Alex nodded silently, feeling a mixture of fear and determination settle in his chest. For weeks, he'd tried to convince himself the alien threat wasn't real. Now, faced with the possibility of war, he realized denial wasn't an option anymore. Whether humanity laughed or cried, the universe didn't care. It only moved forward, indifferent to human folly. That night, Alex sat alone in his apartment, staring out the window at the city skyline. The lights twinkled brightly, masking the unease creeping through the streets below. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, forces were aligning against Earth. And though the world still laughed, Alex knew the joke wouldn't last much longer. The first real sign of hostility came without warning. It was early morning, and the sun had barely risen when a low rumble shook the ground. At first, people thought it was an earthquake. Windows rattled, cars swayed slightly, and birds scattered from rooftops. But as the trembling grew stronger, something far more alarming became clear. Massive ships were descending from the sky. In New York City, Alex Carter was making breakfast when he heard the noise. He dropped his spatula and rushed to the window, his heart pounding. The sight outside froze him in place. Dozens of sleek metallic vessels hovered above the skyline, their surfaces gleaming like polished silver. They weren't attacking yet, but simply floating there, silent and menacing. People poured into the streets, staring up in awe and fear. Mia Rodriguez joined the crowd, her phone already recording the scene. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Around them, others murmured in confusion. Some pointed excitedly at the ships, treating it like a spectacle. Others clutched their children or held each other close, tears streaming down their faces. No one knew what to do. Then, the aliens broadcast another message. This time, it didn't come through televisions or radios. It came directly into every device connected to the internet. Smartphones buzzed, laptops lit up. Even smartwatches displayed the same chilling words. Surrender now, or face annihilation. Panic erupted instantly. Parents grabbed their kids and ran for cover. Cars screeched as drivers tried to flee. The city. The calm that had lingered for weeks vanished in seconds. Alex felt his stomach twist into knots. He turned to Mia, who looked pale and shaken. "We need to get out of here," he said urgently. Before they could move, one of the alien drones detached itself from the larger ships and descended closer, to the ground. Its movements were smooth and deliberate, almost hypnotic. A beam of light shot out from beneath it, striking a nearby car. In an instant, the vehicle, and everyone standing within 10 feet of it, disintegrated into nothingness. There was no explosion, no fire, just a flash of light followed by silence. Screams filled the air as people scattered in all directions. Alex grabbed Mia's hand and pulled her toward a narrow alleyway, ducking behind a dumpster. His breathing came fast and shallow, his mind racing. What had once seemed impossible was now terrifyingly real. The aliens weren't bluffing. They were here, and they meant business. Across town, Sam Lewis watched the chaos unfold from a rooftop vantage point. Armed with her camera, she documented everything: the fleeing crowds, the glowing ships, the destruction caused by the drones. Her hands shook as she filmed, but she forced herself to stay focused. This was history in the making, and someone needed to tell the story. She interviewed a young mother clutching her toddler, tears streaming down her face. "I don't understand why this is happening," the woman sobbed. "Why us? What did we do?" Sam nodded sympathetically, jotting down notes. Nearby, a teenager filmed the scene on his phone, laughing nervously despite the terror around him. "Is this really happening?" he asked aloud, as if hoping someone would say no. Daniel Harper watched the events unfold from his home, glued to his computer screen. He'd been expecting something like this, but seeing it happen still left him shaken. Grabbing his phone, he dialed Sam's number. When she answered, her voice was tense. "Daniel, I'm in the middle of—" "Listen to me," he interrupted. "Those ships are using advanced energy weapons. If we're going to fight back, we need to understand their technology." He hesitated before adding, "And I think I know where we can find answers." Meanwhile, governments around the world scrambled to respond. Militaries mobilized, deploying fighter jets and anti-aircraft missiles against the alien fleet. But every attempt ended in failure. Missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible shields surrounding the ships, while fighter jets were disabled mid-flight by beams of light. The aliens' superior technology rendered Earth's defenses useless. Back in the streets, Alex and Mia found temporary shelter in an abandoned subway station. The tunnels were damp and dark, but they offered some protection from the drones overhead. As they huddled together, listening to distant explosions, Alex felt a surge of anger, mixed with helplessness. "There has to be something we can do," he muttered under his breath. Mia squeezed his hand. "Like what? We're not soldiers, Alex. We're just ordinary people." He shook his head. "Maybe, but sitting here waiting to die isn't an option either." Later that day, they rejoined a group of survivors led by Chris Bennett. The former Marine had set up a command center in a school gymnasium, coordinating efforts to protect the community. Volunteers worked tirelessly, distributing supplies, tending to the injured, and fortifying the building against potential attacks. Despite the fear in everyone's eyes, there was also a sense of purpose, a determination to survive. Chris called a meeting to discuss next steps. "We can't rely on the military anymore," he said, bluntness. "They're outmatched. Our best chance is to hit them where it hurts, take out their weak points." "But how?" someone asked. "Their ships are indestructible." "Not entirely," Daniel interjected, stepping forward. He'd arrived earlier that morning, bringing with him salvaged pieces of alien technology recovered from downed drones. Holding up a small glowing fragment, he explained, "These things run on energy cores. If we can target those cores, we might be able to disable their shields, or at least slow them down." The room fell silent as people absorbed his words. It sounded risky, maybe even suicidal, but it was the only plan they had. Chris nodded slowly. "All right, let's figure out how to make this work." Over the next few days, the resistance group devised a daring strategy. Using Daniel's research, they identified key locations where alien activity was concentrated. Teams of volunteers armed themselves with makeshift explosives and prepared to strike. Among them was Alex, who volunteered, despite Mia's protests. "You don't have to do this," she pleaded, gripping his arm tightly. "Stay here with me, please." Alex looked at her, his expression torn between guilt and resolve. "If we don't try, We lose everything, he said softly. I can't sit back and do nothing. Reluctantly, Mia let him go, though she couldn't stop the tears from falling. She hugged him tightly, whispering, Promise me you'll come back. I promise, he replied, though neither of them truly believed it. The mission involved infiltrating an alien mothership orbiting Earth. Volunteers disguised themselves in salvaged alien armor scavenged from wrecked drones, hoping to blend in long enough to plant explosives near the ship's core. Alex joined a team led by Chris and Laura Kim, a quiet but fiercely determined woman who had lost her family in the initial attacks. As they boarded a stolen shuttle and launched into space, Alex felt a mix of fear and adrenaline coursing through him. The view of Earth from above was breathtaking. Blue oceans, green continents, and swirling white clouds, but it was overshadowed by the looming threat of the alien fleet. The mothership loomed ahead, its surface jagged and metallic, pulsating faintly with an eerie glow. Inside the ship, the environment was unlike anything they'd ever experienced. Glowing corridors stretched endlessly, lined with strange symbols etched into the walls. Biomechanical structures shifted and rearranged themselves, as if alive. Every step felt like walking into a nightmare. Despite the danger, the team pressed on. They moved quickly and quietly, avoiding patrols of alien drones and staying close to the shadows. Finally, they reached the ship's core, a massive chamber filled with humming machinery and glowing energy conduits. Alex planted the explosives carefully, following Daniel's instructions to the letter. As they made their way back to the shuttle, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and the walls began to tremble. We've been detected, Chris shouted. Move faster. Alex stayed behind to ensure the detonation sequence activated, knowing it might cost him his life. Tell Mia I love her, he said into his communicator before severing the connection. Back on Earth, Mia watched the mothership explode in a brilliant flash of light, tears streaming down her face. She clutched her phone tightly, replaying Alex's final words over and over again. The explosion disabled the alien fleet's shielding, giving humanity a fighting chance. Cheers erupted around the globe as hope flickered back to life. For the first time since the invasion began, people dared to believe they might actually win. But the war was far from over. The aliens regrouped, their forces weakened but not defeated. Humanity had struck a blow, but the cost had been high. Lives had been lost, cities destroyed, and trust shattered. And though laughter had faded, the scars remained, a reminder of how close they had come to extinction. The explosion of the alien mothership sent shockwaves through Earth's atmosphere. For a moment, it felt like the entire planet held its breath. The massive fireball lit up the night sky, casting an eerie glow over cities and towns. People stood, outside their homes, staring upward in stunned silence. Some cheered, others cried, but everyone knew one thing for certain. The tide had shifted. The destruction of the mothership disabled the alien fleet's shields, giving humanity its first real advantage in the war. Fighter jets that had been useless before now soared into the skies, targeting the exposed ships with renewed determination. Missiles struck true this time, tearing through alien hulls and sending debris raining down. It wasn't a victory yet, but it was proof that the invaders could be hurt, and stopped. In New York City, Mia Rodriguez watched the aftermath from her apartment window. Her heart ached with grief, but she forced herself to focus on the present. Alex was gone and nothing could bring him back. Yet his sacrifice had given humanity a fighting chance, and she owed it to him to keep going. Clutching a photo of them, together she whispered, "You did it, Alex, you saved us." Across town, Samantha Sam Lewis documented the chaos unfolding around her. She captured images of people celebrating in the streets, hugging strangers and waving flags. But she also photographed the darker side of the battle, burning buildings, abandoned cars, and families huddled together in makeshift shelters. Her camera lens told two stories, one of hope and one of loss. Daniel Harper worked tirelessly behind the scenes, analyzing the data recovered from the destroyed mothership. The resistance group had salvaged valuable pieces of alien technology, including fragments of their energy cores. Daniel spent hours poring over these artifacts trying to unlock their secrets. His small apartment became a hub of activity, with volunteers assisting him in deciphering alien symbols and testing theories. "We need to understand how their weapons work," Daniel explained to Sam during one of her visits. "If we can replicate their technology, or at least counter it, we might stand a chance against the rest of their fleet." Sam nodded, scribbling notes in her notebook. "Do you think they'll retreat after this?" she asked cautiously. Daniel hesitated before answering. "I don't know. They've invested too much in this invasion to give up easily. This is just the beginning." Meanwhile, grassroots resistance groups continued to grow stronger. Ordinary citizens banded together, forming networks across cities and countries. Chris Bennett emerged as a key leader, coordinating efforts between different teams. Under his guidance, volunteers built weapons using alien tech, fortified safe zones, and organized supply chains to support survivors. Laura Kim, who had joined Alex on the mission to destroy the mothership, stepped up to lead a new squad. Though quiet by nature, her actions spoke louder than words. She trained recruits in guerrilla tactics, teaching them how to ambush alien patrols and sabotage their operations. Her calm demeanor masked a fierce determination, one born from personal tragedy. Mia found herself drawn into the resistance movement as well. At first, she hesitated, unsure if she could contribute anything meaningful, but Chris encouraged her to share her skills. "You're good with people," he told her. "We need someone to keep morale high and make sure everyone feels heard." Reluctantly, Mia agreed, taking on the role of a liaison between teams. She visited shelters, listened to survivors' stories, and helped organize community events to boost spirits. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Alien drones still patrolled the skies, targeting anyone foolish enough to venture outside unprotected areas. Power grids struggled to recover, leaving many regions without electricity for days at a time. Food shortages became a growing concern, especially in urban areas where resources were already stretched thin. Governments, once paralyzed by indecision, finally began to take action. Emergency broadcasts urged citizens to cooperate with local resistance groups and follow safety protocols. Military forces coordinated with civilian militias, sharing intelligence and supplies. Though trust between governments and the public was fragile, the shared goal of survival brought people together. One evening, Mia attended a meeting at the school gymnasium turned command center. Volunteers crowded around tables covered in maps and blueprints, discussing strategies and assigning tasks. Chris stood at the front addressing the group. "We've made progress, but we can't let our guard down," he said firmly. "The aliens are regrouping and they'll come back stronger. We need to stay ready." After the meeting, Mia stayed behind to help clean up. As she stacked chairs, Laura approached her. "How are you holding up?" she asked gently. Mia shrugged, forcing a smile. "I'm okay, just trying to stay busy." Laura nodded knowingly. "It's hard losing someone close to you. I lost my family in the first attack. Sometimes it feels like the pain will never go away." Mia looked at her, surprised by the honesty. "What keeps you going?" "Purpose," Laura replied simply. "Knowing that what I do matters. That maybe someday, no one else will have to feel this way." Her words stayed with Mia long after the conversation ended. That night, lying awake in bed, Mia thought about Alex. She missed him desperately, but she also felt a spark of resolve. He had given everything to protect humanity, and she couldn't let his sacrifice be in vain. The next morning, Mia joined a team tasked with scavenging supplies from abandoned stores. Armed with backpacks and crowbars, they moved quickly through deserted streets, avoiding open areas where drones might spot them. Inside a grocery store, shelves lay ransacked, but they managed to find canned goods, bottled water, and medical supplies. As they loaded their bags, Mia noticed something strange. A faint humming sound coming from the back of the store. "Did you hear that?" she whispered to the others. They froze, listening intently. The sound grew louder, accompanied by a soft glow emanating from behind a closed door marked "Employees Only." Cautiously, Mia pushed the door open, revealing a hidden room filled with alien equipment. Glowing panels lined the walls and strange devices hummed softly on metal tables. "Looks like we found something important," one of the team members murmured. Mia pulled out her phone and snapped photos, careful not to touch anything. Whatever this place was, it needed to be reported immediately. They gathered what they could carry and hurried back to the command center, adrenaline pumping through their veins. When they arrived, Chris and Daniel were waiting. Upon seeing the alien tech, Daniel's eyes widened with excitement. "This could be exactly what we need," he said, examining a glowing device closely. "If we can figure out how it works, we might be able to disable more of their ships, or even predict their next move." As the days passed, the resistance grew more organized and efficient. Teams launched coordinated attacks on alien strongholds, using knowledge gained from studying their technology. Small victories piled up, boosting morale and proving that humanity wasn't powerless. But the aliens adapted quickly. Their remaining ships launched devastating counterattacks, targeting major cities and resistance hubs. Casualties mounted, and despair began to creep back in. Still, the resilience of ordinary people refused to break. Strangers helped each other rebuild, sharing food, shelter, and hope. Sam wrote about these moments of courage and unity, capturing both the darkness and light of humanity's struggle. Her reports highlighted acts of heroism, parents shielding their children from danger, neighbors working together to fortify their block, and volunteers risking their lives to save others. "We may be outmatched," she wrote, "but we're not giving up." For Mia, every day was a reminder of Alex's bravery. She carried his memory with her, drawing strength from it when times got tough. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she believed in the power of human spirit to overcome even the greatest odds. As the war dragged on, humanity clung to the belief that they could win, not because they were stronger or smarter, but because they refused to surrender. The laughter that had once greeted the alien declaration had faded, replaced by a quiet determination. Together they faced the unknown, united by a shared purpose: to survive, to fight, and to reclaim their future. The war between humanity and the aliens had reached a critical point. Though the destruction of the mothership had given Earth a fighting chance, the invaders showed no signs of retreating. Their remaining fleet regrouped, launching relentless attacks on cities, military bases, and resistance strongholds. The skies burned with streaks of fire as alien ships unleashed devastating energy beams, reducing entire neighborhoods to rubble. Humanity fought back with everything it had, but the cost was staggering. Lives lost, homes destroyed, and hope hanging by a thread. In New York City, Mia Rodriguez worked tirelessly alongside the resistance, doing whatever she could to help. Her days were filled with organizing supply runs, comforting grieving families, and keeping morale high among the volunteers. But at night, when the world grew quiet, her thoughts returned to Alex. She kept his photo tucked in her pocket, touching it whenever she needed strength. "You started this," she would whisper to herself. "Now it's my job to finish it." Chris Bennett led the resistance with unwavering determination, devising bold strategies to push back against the aliens. Under his command, teams launched ambushes on alien patrols, sabotaged their equipment, and rescued survivors trapped in conflict zones. Laura Kim proved invaluable during these missions, her calm leadership inspiring confidence in even the most inexperienced fighters. Together, they turned ordinary citizens into warriors, united by a common goal: survival. Samantha, Sam Lewis, continued documenting the war, her reports capturing both the horrors and heroism of the struggle. She followed resistance members into dangerous situations, filming battles and interviewing those who risked their lives daily. Her stories resonated with people around the world, reminding them that even in the darkest times, humanity could rise above despair. One evening, after narrowly escaping an alien attack, Sam sat down to write her latest article. "We are not alone in this fight," she typed. "Every act of kindness, every moment of bravery, brings us closer to victory." Daniel Harper remained, focused on cracking the secrets of alien technology. The artifacts recovered from the hidden room discovered by Mia provided valuable insights into how the invaders operated. Daniel worked late into the night, surrounded by glowing panels, strange devices, and stacks of notes. His breakthrough came when he deciphered a set of alien symbols etched into a piece of machinery. "It's a communication relay," he explained to Chris and Sam during a meeting. "If we can tap into their network, we might be able to intercept their transmissions and maybe even send false messages to confuse them." The idea sparked excitement among the group. For weeks they had been reacting to the aliens' moves, always one step behind. Now, for the first time, they had a chance to take the initiative. Using Daniel's findings, the Resistance developed a plan to infiltrate an alien communications hub located in a remote desert. It was a risky mission, requiring stealth and precision, but the potential rewards made it worth the danger. Volunteers stepped forward eagerly, eager to strike a blow against the invaders. Among them was Mia, who insisted on joining despite protests from Chris and Laura. "I've done enough sitting on the sidelines," she argued. "Alex gave his life for this. I owe it to him to do the same." Reluctantly, they agreed, assigning her to a support role within the team. The mission began under the cover of darkness. A convoy of trucks carrying the volunteers drove deep into the desert, avoiding main roads to minimize the risk of detection. As dawn approached, they reached the outskirts of the alien base, a sprawling complex of metallic structures surrounded by glowing force fields. The sight was intimidating, but the team pressed on, moving cautiously through the sand. Mia stayed close to Laura, her heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. They wore salvaged alien armor scavenged from previous battles, hoping to blend in, if spotted. The air was eerily silent, broken only by the hum of distant machinery. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound carried weight. When they finally reached the perimeter of the base, Laura signaled for everyone to stop. "Remember the plan," she whispered. "Stay low, stay quiet, and stick together. If anything goes wrong, fall back immediately." The team split into smaller groups, each tasked with disabling different sections of the base. Mia accompanied Laura and two others to the central tower, where the communication relay was located. Inside, the environment was surreal. Glowing walls pulsed rhythmically, and strange symbols floated in midair like holograms. Alien drones patrolled the corridors, their movements mechanical yet purposeful. Using tools designed by Daniel, the group worked quickly to disable security systems and access the relay. Mia held her breath as Laura connected a device to the console, her fingers flying over the controls. "Almost there," Laura muttered under her breath. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the base, red lights flashing violently. "They know we're here," someone shouted. Panic surged through the group, but Laura remained calm. "Keep going," she ordered. "We're not leaving until this is done." Moments later, the relay flickered and died. Success. But before they could celebrate, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed down the corridor. Dozens of alien drones converged on their position, cutting off any escape routes. Trapped, the team prepared for a last stand. Mia grabbed a makeshift explosive from her pack, her hands trembling. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the chaos. Laura glanced at her, then at the others. "We hold our ground," she said firmly. "Buy Daniel enough time to use the relay." As the drones closed in, the group fought valiantly, throwing grenades and firing crude weapons fashioned from alien tech. Explosions rocked the tower, sending debris flying in all directions. Through the smoke and flames, Mia saw Laura go down, struck by a beam of light. Without hesitation, Mia rushed to her side, dragging her to safety behind a fallen column. "I'm fine," Laura insisted, though blood trickled from a wound on her arm. "Get out of here! Finish the mission!" "No," Mia replied, tears streaming down her face. "We're finishing this together." With renewed determination, the pair rejoined the fight, taking down drone after drone. Just as it seemed they couldn't hold out any longer, reinforcements arrived. Chris and his team stormed into the tower, guns blazing. Together they managed to clear a path to the exit, retreating just as the entire base began to collapse. Outside, the survivors watched as the alien structure crumbled into dust, the glow of its force field fading into nothingness. Exhausted, but triumphant, they embraced one another, knowing they had dealt a significant blow to the invaders. Back at the command center, Daniel confirmed that the intercepted communications had already begun paying dividends. False messages sent to the alien fleet caused confusion and disarray, giving humanity a crucial advantage. For the first time in months, there was a glimmer of hope. The resistance celebrated their victory, but they knew the war was far from over. The aliens still outnumbered them. Their technology remained advanced and their resolve unshaken. Yet humanity had proven something important, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, courage and unity could turn the tide. Mia stood beside Chris and Laura, gazing up at the stars. "We've come so far," she said softly. "But we can't. Stop now." Chris nodded, his expression grim but resolute. "No, we can't, not until we've driven them away for good." As the night stretched on, the city below buzzed with activity. People worked together to rebuild what had been lost, sharing food, shelter, and stories of survival. Sam wrote about these moments, capturing the resilience of the human spirit. "This is who we are," she concluded in her latest report, broken, battered, but never beaten. And so humanity pressed on, fueled by hope and determination. The laughter that had once greeted the alien declaration had long since faded, replaced by a quiet strength born of adversity. Together, they faced the unknown, united by a shared purpose: to protect their home and ensure a future for generations to come. The tide of the war had shifted, but victory was far from assured. The Resistance's daring raid on the alien communications hub disrupted their operations, causing confusion among the invaders. False messages sent through the intercepted network led to clashes between alien ships, forcing them to retreat temporarily. For the first time in months, Earth's skies were clear of their glowing vessels. But everyone knew it was only a matter of time before they regrouped and returned with greater force. In New York City, Mia Rodriguez stood on the rooftop of an old building, staring at the horizon. The air smelled cleaner now, free from the acrid smoke that had lingered for weeks. Below her, the streets buzzed with cautious optimism. People worked together to rebuild what had been destroyed, repairing homes, planting gardens, and reopening shops. Life hadn't returned to normal, but it felt like a step in the right direction. Yet, as she looked up at the stars, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that the aliens weren't done with humanity yet. Chris Bennett shared her unease. Though the Resistance had scored significant victories, he knew the war wasn't over. "They'll be back," he told his team during a meeting. "And when they do, we need to be ready." Under his leadership, volunteers continued training, fortifying defenses, and gathering intelligence. Laura Kim, still recovering from her injuries, helped strategize new tactics, drawing on lessons learned from past battles. Together, they prepared for whatever came next. Samantha Sam Lewis documented these efforts, writing about the resilience of ordinary people who refused to give up. Her articles highlighted moments of courage, families rebuilding shattered lives, strangers helping each other survive, and communities coming together despite the odds. She also wrote about the sacrifices made along the way, honoring those who had given everything to protect humanity. "We are not defined by our fears," she concluded in one piece. "We are defined by how we face them." Daniel Harper remained focused on studying alien technology, determined to unlock its secrets. With the help of recovered artifacts, he discovered ways to replicate some of their energy systems. This breakthrough allowed the Resistance to create more advanced weapons and defenses. Volunteers tested prototypes in secret locations, fine-tuning designs until they were reliable enough for widespread use. Though progress was slow, every improvement brought humanity closer to leveling the playing field. As days turned into weeks, the aliens began making their presence known again. Ships reappeared in orbit, scanning Earth's surface with renewed intensity. Drones patrolled cities, targeting any sign of resistance. Power outages returned, plunging entire regions into darkness. It seemed the invaders had learned from their earlier mistakes, adapting their strategies to counter human ingenuity. One evening, Mia joined Chris and Laura on a scouting mission near the outskirts of the city. They observed a group of drones, hovering over a factory apparently searching for something. "They're looking for resources," Chris whispered. "If we can sabotage their supply lines, we might slow them down." The plan was risky but necessary. Teams of volunteers infiltrated abandoned industrial zones, planting explosives near alien equipment used to extract materials. These raids caused chaos within the alien ranks, forcing them to divert attention away from major attacks. Every small victory mattered, buying humanity more time to prepare. Despite these successes, fear lingered in the hearts of many. Families huddled together in underground shelters, listening to distant explosions and praying for safety. Children played quietly, their laughter muted by the weight of uncertainty. Even those actively fighting the invaders struggled with doubt. Would they ever truly win? Or were they simply delaying the inevitable? Mia wrestled with these questions herself. On quiet nights, she would sit alone holding Alex's photo close to her chest. "What would you do?" she asked softly, imagining him beside her. Though she couldn't hear his voice, she found comfort in remembering his bravery. He had believed in humanity's ability to overcome even the greatest challenges, and so did she. The turning point came unexpectedly. Daniel called an emergency meeting, his face pale but excited. "I've cracked their energy core design," he announced, spreading blueprints across the table. "If we can plant a device inside one of their main ships, we might disable their entire fleet." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Such a mission would require precision, stealth, and immense sacrifice. Volunteers stepped forward eagerly, knowing the stakes. Among them was Mia, who refused to let anyone else take her place. "This is my fight too," she said firmly when Chris tried to dissuade her. "I'm not sitting this one out." After careful planning, the team set out under cover of darkness. Using salvaged alien armor and stolen shuttles, they approached a massive ship hovering above the Atlantic Ocean. Inside, the environment was eerily familiar: glowing corridors, shifting symbols, and humming machinery. The group moved quickly, avoiding patrols and disabling security systems. Their goal was a central chamber housing the ship's energy core, a pulsating sphere of light surrounded by intricate circuits. Mia volunteered to stay behind and activate the device, knowing it meant certain death. As the others retreated, she worked frantically, following Daniel's instructions to the letter. When the timer reached 0, she pressed the final button, sealing her fate. "Tell everyone, thank you," she whispered into her communicator, before cutting the connection. Back on Earth, Chris and Laura watched as the alien ship erupted in a blinding explosion. One by one, the remaining vessels followed suit, their shields failing and hulls crumbling. Cheers erupted around the globe as humanity realized they had won. The invaders were gone, for now. In the aftermath, life slowly began to heal. Cities rebuilt themselves, scars fading with time. Sam published her account of the war titled "Laughing in the Face of Doom." It became a testament to human resilience, reminding readers of the strength found in unity and hope. Daniel returned to his research, vowing to prepare for future encounters. "This won't be the last time," he warned, "but next time, we'll be ready." Mia's sacrifice was honored with a memorial plaque placed in Central Park. Friends and strangers alike left flowers and notes, paying tribute to her bravery. Chris visited often, standing silently as memories of their shared struggle washed over him. Laura continued leading the resistance, ensuring humanity never forgot the lessons learned during the war. Though laughter had faded, replaced by solemn determination, a fragile peace settled over Earth. Humanity had faced the unknown and emerged victorious but not unscathed. Billions had perished, cities lay in ruins, and trust in governments remained fractured. Yet amidst the pain, there was pride. Ordinary people had risen to extraordinary challenges, proving that even in the darkest times, light could prevail. Daniel often reminded himself, the universe was vast and full of mysteries yet to uncover. For now, humanity stood united, gazing at the stars with cautious optimism. They had earned their second chance, and they vowed never to squander it. Again,